7 p.m. and I call to order this meeting of the Middlebury Development Review Board for February 25th, 2019. First thing I'll do is go over tonight's agenda, business agenda. The first one is an application request by Eric Friend, doing business as Friend Construction, for conditional use approval for a contractor's shop yard use on the property owned by Loretta Wetmore Life Estate. The property was previously used as a contractor's woodworking shop retail space since 1950. The property is located at 1415 K Street in the Agricultural Rural District, parcel 08053. The second business item tonight is a sketch plan application request by Harley Grice Revocable Trust for a proposed two-lot subdivision of his property located at 1126 Halpin Road. Pursuant to Section 561, the DRB will review the proposal for general compliance with the Middlebury zoning. Final plan, public hearing approval will be sought at a later date. The subdivision proposed is located in the Agricultural Rural District, parcel 008181. Are there any communications from the public on any item not on the agenda tonight? Is there a motion to approve the minutes of February 11th?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
I have
Ann?
an amendment.
Yes.
I think that on line 32, Fred Dunnington was omitted from the list of people sworn in to give testimony.
Okay.
So we should add him there.
Anything else? All approve the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay. First public hearing. An application request by Eric Friend, doing business as Friend Construction LLC, for conditional use approval for a contractor's shop yard use on the property owned by Loretta Wetmore Life Estate. The property was previously used as a contractor's woodworking shop retail space since the 1950s. The property is located at 1415 K Street in the AR zone. It's parcel 08053. The following is the DRB oath for applicants, interested persons, and those who wish to participate in this hearing. If you are interested in participating in this hearing, please take the oath now. If you do not take the oath, you will not be able to participate. Do you affirm that the evidence and information you are giving in this proceeding is true and accurate to the best of your belief and knowledge? Please signify by raising your hand.
So everyone who wants to testify tonight has to raise their hand and take this oath. I don't see a lot of hands. Okay. Up in the back row? Okay.
For the whole proceeding, or for this one?
Just this one.
Oh, okay, that's why I don't see your hands. Thank you. All right, good. I'm trying, Dave.
At this time, I would ask the members of the board if any member has a conflict of interest regarding this application. At this time, does any member wish to disclose any ex parte conversations concerning this case?
No.
Okay. If the applicant would come forward and give us a explanation of what you're proposing.
So what I'm looking to do is relocate my shop, which is now located in Bristol. We would just like to, bring what we have down into this location. We store some materials. We have trucks and trailers that we keep there too. It's just mostly, and plus we would have some office space in there as well.
Okay, just for the record, you are Eric Frank?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay, so at this time, there won't be any changes to the footprint of the building?
At this time, no.
Okay. And you will be constructing a driveway to the rear of the property for new parking?
Yes.
Can't find it.
Exterior lighting, will there be any change in that?
We would like to put an exterior light on the rear of the building.
Okay. Other questions from the board at this time?
Kevin,
Yes.
Mr. Friend, I guess I'm not sure I understand what the B1 standard are for access on the Route 116. Could someone explain to me how you gotta be in compliance?
As far as the,
Have they told you what you needed to do?
No, he's got a contact.
Right, but do you have any idea what it requires?
No.
Okay.
You have an idea what it requires?
as far as,
State wants you to do for the access?
no, I do not. I believe it's existing already, so I would assume that it was.
I'm just looking at the highlighted staff concerns. Jan, so what, do we need to even consider that as part of the applicant?
Well, you're gonna have a standard condition that says that, that he'll have to meet all the other applicable state regulations. So if Randy Snelling is gonna give an opinion to him about that, then he'll follow that up with him separately.
Okay, so,
And it'll be covered by our blanket condition about,
because we had that discussion on another application on 116 near the junction of Quarry Road and 116, and
that was a little different because that was a new access, and V-Trans was saying it was an unsuitable location.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, okay.
Now, it says here that the applicant has to contact Mr. Snelling,
Yep,
so he should be aware of that
okay,
and not wait for Mr. Snelling to contact him.
true enough.
That's gonna happen.
Yes, Ann?
Given that the use is changing of this property, could you describe in more detail the vehicles, the type of vehicles you plan to have parked in the front and in the rear?
The only things that we parked in the front would be like the, any, like a customer that might visit, or the office manager, or probably myself, but all the other vehicles would be parked in the rear. Those would be employees' cars, or any of our trailers, or our equipment, or anything like that would be all parked in the rear.
What equipment?
Well, I mean, I say equipment, trailers, trucks. We have like 3 dump trailers, 2 work trailers, some flatbed trailers. We own a bucket loader, skid steer.
Are any of these particularly tall?
Tall? No. No.
I have another question.
Sure, go ahead.
2 more questions, actually. The snow plowing operation, do you turn out in the middle of the night for that?
Sometimes, yes. Usually, it's usually 2 o'clock in the morning is usually when we head out, but usually, we usually have everything all loaded ahead of time, and so we just jump in our vehicles and go.
And how many trucks do snow
3
plowing?
trucks.
3.
Yeah.
And the other question, I guess I have two more questions. I noticed that there's a very large pine tree in the back.
Yeah.
And I can't tell from the plan you provided with the green dots for plans whether that will be to the west of the proposed new building, or it will have to be cut down to make room for that. The one towards the
Yeah, I know which one
north
you're
side of
talking
the
about, yeah.
property.
I think that might be able to stay. I'm not 100% sure, but my goal is to keep as many trees up as we can just for the barrier.
And do you plan any further screening on the south side rear? Because there's a residence set
Yeah.
back there. And I know that when that scrub grows up, there'll be reduced visibility from the house, but I was wondering if you have any plans. I know you have the fence marked, but is the fence going to be a new fence in a certain height? And
It would be a 6-foot privacy fence that we would put it up there.
And these green dots are some of the existing trees, the better ones out of the whole scrub
Yes.
area?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I couldn't read the dimension on the plan as it was presented to us. What is the distance currently, the non-conforming setback on the south side? Like, how far is that building off the property line now? Is that 25 or 15?
I think it was 15.
It looks like 25 in the plan, but it looks either.
Here's 25 feet right here.
That's the 25-foot setback. So it looks like it's right on it on the other side.
On the south side?
Are you asking how far the building is from the property line?
On the south
On the
side.
south side.
Yeah,
Oh, on this
exactly.
side.
I couldn't read that dimension. Is that 25?
There's
25.
25 feet there.
I couldn't see.
Yeah, it is right there on that.
Sadly, your eyes are better than mine.
I've had more operations on them.
So which is the non-conforming side yard setback?
Which is it?
That's why I thought it was only 15 feet, that measurement.
It is to the southwest, right, because that corner cuts in? So it's probably more like 10 where that cutout happens on the south side.
The big green dot and then to the south?
Charge right into this breach. I assume that's the, I assume if that's conforming at 25, I assume that's half of conforming, right?
Could you use the pointer so that, yeah, thanks.
I assume that's the non-conforming bit, is, right? That this 25 should go all the way here. And so this is the bit of the project that's currently non-conforming. Does that sound right to staff?
Dave, would you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I'd say it's probably somewhere between 12 and 15 feet.
I think John and I were just looking at the aerial. We have a better aerial just on sort of Google Maps, and it looks like that's the area where there's the neighbor on the south side, right where the non-conforming part is.
You talking about the Dyke property or the Brookman property?
Dyke property, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
On your plan that you provided to us, you've marked out 12 parking spaces. How many of those would be available for customers, and how many would you be filling up all the time?
Probably 5 of the front ones would be available for customers. And all the rest, would be filled up, and the ones in the back and stuff.
Thank you.
Could you clarify what you mean by customer? Like, what is the nature of your business that customers, I deal with.
Customers occasionally come in and they might pay a bill. They might pick up some sample boards.
Sample.
Yeah, drop off a contract.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's not a retail showroom.
It's not by any means, no.
Thank you. Do you have a design for the building, the building in the back, the shed, salt shed? Is it, like, how high is it, or?
It would, I do have designs, not with me, but some, it would be, I think it's like 18 feet tall
18 tall at the peak?
at the peak.
So it's got what, like a 10-foot door? You gotta drive a.
It would be about taller than 10 foot. It would be tall enough to get a dump truck in there, to back in there.
So Kevin, procedurally, how far do we get into the proposed new building in this meeting versus the use change? Not at all? Is that a,
Yeah, well, yes, we're considering both of both.
I don't believe Eric is asking for a permit for the building.
right?
He's just asking for the change of use tonight.
Right.
And then, once he has a better idea of how the site lays out, and he's completed his purchase, and he thinks about the building, he'll come back and get a building permit from us.
Right.
And that may be something that you would be able to issue without coming before the board.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
So your intention is to buy the property?
Yes.
That's what I thought, but.
So, Jen, a green space waiver would require a payment to the town?
No. No, that's only those downtown parking
Oh,
fees.
okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Green space waiver just has to have adequate space for however many he needs to make up. If you figure a space is 9 by 20.
Right. Do you know what we're talking about, Mr. Friend?
I don't exactly know.
The staff has determined that a business of the type you have requires 15 parking spaces, but given the amount of land you have available here, we're able to give you a waiver if the board agrees for 3 of those,
Oh, okay.
so that 12 is sufficient.
Okay.
And then if at some point the town concludes that more are needed, you would have to add the 3 needed.
I guess I have a clarifying question. On the wastewater system design pressures and flows, there's a blue outline of a property boundary with a 4-bedroom, single-family residence. I don't believe that's there now.
That was a design done by the previous property owner,
Okay.
the current property owner.
Okay, so it has no relevance to what we're dealing with now. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I suppose it's just included to show you how well it perks and
Yep,
that there's a valid permit on file.
okay.
Other questions at this time from the board?
I have one. So the staff comment in the report says that the applicant is committed to not storing materials outside in view of neighbors of the street. Is that consistent with the way you do business now, or? Okay, all right. And the other thing that I think everybody probably wanted to know was, where is the fuel tank located on the property? It's a bit, there's a outdoor fuel tank?
Yes, it's
above
an
ground?
outdoor, it's a skid tank, yeah, so it would, I couldn't tell you exactly where to put it at this point till we get everything all figured,
Okay. It's to fuel vehicles, though?
yes,
Okay.
just our trucks, yes.
So I guess, Mr. Chairman, the thing we should only be considering is the conditional use permit, right?
For the use,
Yes, for the use. We should only,
if,
Green space.
yeah, in the waiver.
Waiver.
yeah.
I guess if, we don't need to give the applicant any sense of the salt shed at this time, then, Jen?
I'm just verifying that we're asking for a waiver tonight, too. I'm sorry. I don't believe we are. Dave, are we asking for a waiver tonight, too?
They're, just for green space for the parking.
Oh, that waiver. I thought you meant a dimensional waiver. I'm like, did I miss a setback waiver? Okay, thank you.
So if he gets the change of use, then the salt shed is really just an administrative permit, not a DRB?
Yeah,
Okay.
Unless it's too close to the side setback.
Right, unless there's something wonky with it.
Yeah, as long as it meets the setback requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with this proposal.
And other requirements, right? Outdoor lighting,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
right.
Any other questions from the board at this time?
No.
At this time, I'll open it up to the public, if you would indicate your name, and questions or comments. Yes,
Sorry, folks.
anywhere, yeah.
My name is Jean Panacucci, and I live directly across the street, across Route 116, from the entrance to your property. And my concern is aesthetics. Because, oh, thank you. The character of our neighborhood is rural, residential, Vermont-like, and we would like to keep it that way. So I did hear that you may build, or I'd heard that you're going to build a big building.
It was a salt shed we discussed about possibly building.
So my thinking, I'm an amateur at
Yeah.
this, is will it be set far enough back so it won't be like a new industrial
It
item?
would be, it wouldn't be a very big building and a large building, it would set back way behind the building that's there now.
Okay, and I did hear you mention a couple of trucks and.
Well, we have
but
like pickups and stuff like
Big
that.
deal thing.
This is the
Oh,
plan
oh,
that
that's
Mr.
good,
Friend
yeah.
provided. Here's the entrance.
Oh, okay,
Your
and my
house
house
is
is
over
right
here.
here.
These are the parking spaces he said will be
Will
for
be there.
people stopping by, if any.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's a new driveway going around the side to these
Okay,
back
that
parking
will be-
spaces. And this, the shed is,
Oh, way over here?
yes.
Oh, well, that's interesting, because I have a nice view of the Adirondacks. I mean, this is why I'm here. And that's my whole shtick, is that I want to keep it not an industrial road that might grow. You know, one thing always leads to another industry, and then it'll look like Route 7.
Yes.
And we wouldn't like that. And I heard you mention about lighting, and
Yeah.
that doesn't bother me. Always pull in a shade. And truck activity is just when you're getting ready to
It's just in, yeah,
go
yeah.
to,
In the mornings when the guys show up, they take off, it's usually around 7 o'clock, and they're usually back by 5.
okay. So I did hear it's zoned agricultural, residential, and that wouldn't change to commercial or anything like that?
No. Planning commission would have to change the zone.
Ah, yeah, it's a big thing. Wouldn't do that. Oh, sounds interesting. So, as a roofer, you don't have piles of
No.
roofing,
No.
because that goes to the people's house.
Yes, yeah. No, we store underlayments and stuff like that on site, so.
Oh, great. Well, that's my only questions, and
Thank you.
I think that it could work out. I'm a friendly friend.
Thank you.
You're a friendly friend.
Other questions? Yes.
Ross Conrad. But I had a few questions. One was the salt shed. Is there any environmental things that have to be done to prevent the possible contamination of the aquifer and groundwater in the construction and setting up that salt shed?
Mr. Chairman, I don't really think we're here tonight to discuss the salt shed. I think that's something that would have to be dealt with
That's a
later
different
on.
time. Okay. So what about, well, I guess the other question was also about the fuel tank. Is that going to be covered, and will there be a catch basin around it in case it leaks?
That's a double wall fuel tank,
Double wall.
double wall fuel tank, so.
Is it covered at all, or is it just?
It's not covered, no.
And there's nothing around it to catch anything?
It has a double wall, so if the inside wall was to leak
On
with
the
the
tank
outside,
itself?
then it has an outside wall that would catch it to the outside wall.
Is that around?
It goes around it, it's like a barrel around a barrel.
Yeah.
So if the inside barrel leaks,
Yeah.
then the outside part of the barrel could catch it.
So the only other question.
Can I follow up on that, Mr. Friend? I think a key question is whether it's going to be on a slab or a pad with an underlayment, or is it on a slab typically?
It would be on a slab, yeah.
How would you know whether the inside barrel was leaking?
They have a leak detector, the thing on one end that you can check.
Would that be related to your new building, or is that something?
Again, Mr. Chairman, I think we're getting way away from what the applicant is here for.
I apologize, so my other question. if I-
Go ahead.
Okay. It sounded like there's gonna be 12 parking spots available, and I heard there was a number of vehicles and machinery, trucks and things you'll have parked there. It sounded like you'd have about 7 of them there. And then there's 5 spots available for the customers, so that's 12 parking spots. So where are the staff gonna?
Our most of our, a lot of times our equipment is out in the field. So
Okay, but sometimes you bring it to the shop.
that stuff comes to the shop, but majority of the time, I mean, if we bring the stuff back, the guys get in their cars and they leave. So it all just kind of means the spots are always be full. I mean, either with my equipment or their cars. So if they were to come in the morning and they would park, they would just pull out the truck and just park their vehicle.
And how many staff do you think you'll have working there regularly?
In the summer, in our busiest season, we have 8 people, maybe, but majority of those, we're in the construction business, so it's not a secret that majority of those don't have licenses. So they all ride together, a lot of them, so, so we might have, out of 8 people, might have 4 cars. So,
And so my own math, I'm wondering if there's enough parking spots for your vehicles when they're possibly there, the customers, and your staff. I'm not sure if that works, but.
Yeah, I mean, it would, like I said, if you have trucks and trailers hooked together, I mean, you know, if they're all lined up, there's more than enough room in the back. And in the wintertime, when we're closed down, we really have no one coming in or out, except for myself.
So you close down in the winter?
Well, as far as construction, we do snow removal and stuff like that, but I try to lay all my guys off and enjoy the winter.
Thank you. Yes.
Since I'm here mainly for the aesthetics, because I don't know technicalities, could you make that building look like a barn?
That's very well possible. Whatever the, whatever they would approve.
Keeping with.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Other questions? David?
Yes, Dave Wetmore, and I'm representing my mom here tonight. She's the owner of the property, Lori Wetmore, and I contacted Randy Snelling on behalf of my mom, just to clarify the B71 standard. He says the driveway is pretty much compliant now. The only issue is the radius might have to get a little bigger, just in and out. The new standard changes slightly, but he said it's been used historically that way for years. The tree on the northern boundary is actually a group of trees. They were Christmas trees that I never planted out. So if you cut one, you're probably going to cut 2 or 3 or 4.
So standing by the building and looking at that thing, it looked like one giant
Yeah,
tree.
it's
and
many
it
trees.
was-
But that is probably, those trees are probably within 10 feet of the boundary right there. So if he's got to be 25 feet, I think he probably can preserve
Yeah.
that tree. On top of that, there's, depending on how his driveway has to be put in, there's quite a clump of maples on the north boundary too that would help screen that, in that direction toward the west there.
It's more the screening to the south.
To
that I
the
was-
south, the trees exist, there's a hedgerow
Right.
of arborvitae that I actually planted for the neighbor years ago that are quite tall. They're probably 18, 20 feet tall now, very dense and full. And it's pretty, actually, the neighbor's got more of a mess than what's on my mom's property at this point. They stacked pallets up for dog enclosures and everything else, so anything he can do to improve that would probably help.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Okay, at this time, I'll close the public participation part of the meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move that the Middlebury Development Review Board, having reviewed the applicant submitted and having heard duly considered and testimony presented at this public hearing on February 25th, 2019, approve this request for a final conditional use approval for contractor yard and/or shop on a parcel 008053 located at 1415 K Street.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Discussion. Before we vote, I just want to check with staff. Is there anything that you want to add at this point that we didn't,
Yeah, a friendly amendment on the green space waiver on the parking wouldn't hurt things.
to include that? in-
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
I'll offer a friendly amendment to the motion, considering the representations about number of vehicles and materials that the applicant has provided to offer the green space waiver for the requirement, the addition, for 3 of the required parking spaces.
Okay, is that agreed to the second?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
This one, let's just consider the proposal that's all we don't approve it. So,
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. I'm not used to writing and thinking and talking all at the same time. I don't know how you do it.
The next item on our agenda, the sketch plan application request by Harley Grice Revocable Trust for a proposed two-lot subdivision of his property located at 1126 Halpin Road. Pursuant to section 561, the DRB will review the proposal for general compliance with Middlebury zoning. Final plan, plat, public hearing approval will be sought at a different date. The subdivision proposed is located in the AR zone. It's parcel 008181. Okay. Following is the DRB oath for applicants, interested persons, and those who wish to participate in this hearing. If you are interested in participating in this hearing, please take the oath now. If you do not take the oath, you will not be able to participate. Will you affirm that the evidence and information you are giving in this proceeding is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge and belief? Please signify by raising your hand.
I do.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask the members of the board if any member has a conflict of interest regarding this application.
No.
Also, at this time, does any member wish to disclose any ex parte conversations concerning this case? Thank you. Okay, if you'd like to introduce yourself and give us an
Can I
idea.
make a quick comment?
Yes,
Just so that folks understand, this is just a sketch plan. There's no real decision coming out of it. It's just an opportunity for Wes to, and the Graces to put their idea out in front of you, give them some feedback, and then they'll take that back to us.
So are they looking for a tentative approval?
And we'll classify it as a minor or major subdivision tonight.
Right.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah, tentative approval, correct.
okay. Go
Good
ahead.
evening, everybody. Jason Barnard and Jarvis. I'm here with Wes Butler and his wife, Kristen. Harley's not here tonight, but I can sort of run you through things up here on the
Can you
board.
use the pointer, please?
I sure can.
And stand to, yeah. that's
There we
it.
go.
Thank you.
In the right spot.
Get your marching orders.
Here we go with, if you follow the pointer, this is Hallopin Road. Here is the Grice farmhouse, and I can barely see, there's a little bit of glare, but existing farmhouse, 1126 Hallopin Road. As proposed, the parcel itself is a large parcel, 280 acres in size. It's a two-lot subdivision, or the creation of one new parcel for development. Would be 2.86 acres in size. It would be an internal lot to that 280 acres. As a result of the subdivision, after just shy of 3 acres is subdivided out, you'll have about 277 acres remaining with the farm parcel. Access would be off of Hallopin Road. We have done subsequent soil testing on the property this fall. We have identified an area for wastewater disposal, which would be towards the east behind the house. The house would be sitting just over there's a ridge that sort of runs through here, sits over on the east side of the ridge and sort of has views out to the east. Once there's a little bit of clearing within the tree envelope. Not any permitting requirements in terms of the existing house, because we're greater than 500 feet from the subdivision line, so that doesn't come into play in terms of water and wastewater. We do have, like I said, our areas identified. The existing house would also be served by a drilled well that would be located on the parcel. Relatively straightforward with the project. As proposed at this moment, we would be looking, or Mr. and Mrs. Butler would be looking to acquire the property from Wes's grandfather Harley after the subdivision goes through. That's where they hope to build their home and raise their family. There is an existing field road where basically we use the orthos to sort of follow that in. The parcel would have a deeded 50-foot right-of-way over that existing road into the property, and that's how the access would be off of Hallopin Road. Any questions from the board?
Questions?
I have one.
Go ahead, Ann.
You said that the house would be just over the ridge line and the views would be to the east, but that's because there's nothing to look at to the west, right, except the houses on Halpin Road and the hill behind them?
Yeah, it's sort of, Wes can probably better describe it than I can, but as you go into the woods road and across the field, you basically start and you enter into the wooded area, and you get just over the crest of the slope, and that's sort of where the house would be situated. There's a level
Yeah, where
shelf.
those orange flags are.
Yes. Just east of that, I think. That was more of a mathematical envisioning of space for me. Yeah,
So-
those aren't any official markers. That was just me figuring out dimensions.
So just for informational purposes, the house will, if it's a two-story house, it would definitely be visible from.
Most certainly,
Yeah.
from Halpin Road, absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm at a disadvantage. I left my code at home, but I assume, Ann, you have the dimensional requirements for AR? Does this?
It's 2 acres plus for properties served by wells and,
Well, and on-site septic, yeah.
No identified wetlands that you have to?
On the property, it's actually mostly ridges. It's a lot of ledge. But in terms of a review of A&R, on the whole 280 acres, probably somewhere
Oh,
out
I'm
there.
sure.
Just not where we are.
Well, yeah, Muddy Branch runs through there.
Just, yeah. Yeah. The A&R Atlas doesn't show any in that wooded, and it's ledge and Nellis soil, so it has some good pockets of rock and stuff.
Any questions from the board at this time? Anything from staff to add?
Just curious if you got an idea, the intersection of Alpin Road, what the site distances are there, that kind of thing.
Yeah, do you want to talk?
I mean, I've seen it a few times, when Wes and I have walked it, we've dug the test pits. I'd say there's probably 300 feet in each direction.
Substantial.
Probably even more so to the north,
I think there's more to the south.
to the south?
Yeah, there's a slight hill and some maples to the north that kind of cut down on your site quite a ways down the road, but to the south, you can see right to the next house to the south, so.
It's a decent site.
Yeah.
Line of sight. And obviously, as part of the next step, we have to get an access permit. That review, but not first step.
The other question I had is, as far as clearing limits, are you considering any kind of limitation on clearing, so that it's not all opened up, or are you?
Yeah, we certainly have no interest in clearing on the road side of the property, because we want as much privacy as we can get. So there'd be some clearing to the back just to make room for the house, I think some clearing for the septic. But, I mean, the whole reason we like that area because it's wooded, so we're really looking at minimal clearing.
There's some larger maples, there's some nice maples which Wes talked about, wanting to work around and preserve those. And, there's a lot of understory that's kind of scrub brush in between, but right where really right where the house site is, where the pipe has to get to the wastewater system, and then where the wastewater system would go.
So out of that 2 acres, would you envision 3/4 of an acre, something like that?
It's probably a good round number.
Yep.
I think we can tell from the plan, although it's not an engineering plan for the road, we can tell that it's been thought through. Do you know what the grade is on the drive?
Less than 5%.
Under 5?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's actually an existing road there now. I think that was used to access some of the farm down in the back at one point, because it does go all the way through.
Yep, it's used as sugaring, all sorts of stuff,
Yeah.
so. Yep.
It's actually, it's a really decent access off Howland Road. And even into the house site. I would say 5% or less. Yeah, these are just ortho based now. Obviously, the next phase will have shots and topo.
And the drives won't require a major culvert of any sort? Bridge,
No,
culvert?
not believe, if there may be one, is there a culvert?
Yeah, there's one where the water drains across the field.
Yeah.
There would be one, and there's one there now already.
Right.
It would probably be a little larger and
replaced.
wider.
I think there was a 15-inch, and maybe it has to go to an 18 or 24, but there's not a huge amount.
Okay. This time I'll open it up to the public. Any comments or questions from anyone?
Looks really weird.
Yes?
Victoria Lynn, it looks like you moved the entrance south of the existing gate. That's where it is.
Nope, that right there is at the gate.
That's at the gate.
And the gate is right opposite the
Correct.
Clark's
Yep.
driveway. I thought that had been, you were changing it.
We've talked about, we just spoke about it this evening.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's currently pasture. Will it continue to be pasture? And if so, how would it be fenced?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, for like existing.
that's something that I'm not sure if we've talked about with Joel as far as what he would want to fence, and I don't think he's 100% decided what he's even going to do with his cows in the future, but we'd like to keep it, what it is now, ideally.
And the brush pile that's up there now, is that where the house is, or will the house be?
The house would be
east of
just
that?
slightly east of that,
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
great.
Penny Curler, Harley Bryce's daughter. Well, the land is all in agricultural farm use, so it will stay in that. They just want a spot and a road to get there, so it will stay in the agricultural use.
Yeah.
Thank you. David?
David Clark. I live opposite the discussed entrance. And I had talked to Harley last week about the possibility of moving that entrance off of Halpin Road, maybe south, I'm thinking. I walked it like 45 paces, so it's not very far. but it would, and then would connect to that sharp bend.
So just sliding the.
Just sliding
entrance
it
to
down
the south.
just a little bit to the south, and then that would prevent headlights and stuff coming out of the place, coming into our house. But if it could be moved down south just a little bit, there's a hedgerow of lilacs on our side that it could, shine into. It would be visible to us, certainly. So that would be, we would appreciate that if that could happen.
I don't see why not. West talk, we talked about that tonight and.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Can I do, what would be helpful is if you guys actually sort of got together and put a stake.
Yep.
That would
Yeah,
give
I'm
us
happy to do that.
locate, design too.
I have a question for staff. David?
Yes.
If they move the driveway entrance, would they have to contact the state about that, or is that a
Not the
town
state,
road?
It's just town.
So get permission from the town to have the gateway in a different place on Halpin Road?
That's correct.
Okay.
Right now, the use is as an agricultural access anyway, so they, even in its existing location, they'd have to upgrade it for residential
I
use.
see.
So, moving it one way or the other, they still have to comply with it.
But
Moving it to
the road is gonna serve two purposes. It's still gonna continue to access agricultural to the rest of the land. So it's not just for the house.
Right. But with the converting it to a residence, we'd have to go and get the access permit.
Yep, I understand that.
Can I ask a question?
Jen, yeah.
So what was the rationale behind creating like a interior lot like that?
Financial, probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're,
Is it still tilling the land between your lot and the road or something?
it's pastoral, it's grazed heifers in the summer right now, so it would ideally maintain that use, so.
Gotcha. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Is it in current use?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So that would have to come out.
So that's kind of part of it too, right? Having a little chunk.
Yeah, they allow you so many homestead acres or, for current use plan. That'll obviously have to come out once we put our survey map together and Harley and Wes can take that to the current use program and pull out 2.86 acres.
So for your house and driveway, you'll have to figure out who's going to open and close the gate, or whether it's going to be automatic.
Yeah, that's definitely has been a conversation with our relative that leases the land for his heifers, so.
And you have no idea how long he's gonna stay in the farming business either.
I think it's week to week, year to year.
Right.
Yeah.
The parent parcel, or this parcel that we're considering, has it been intact since 1987 or whenever the AR zone was put in? Or has there been any subdivision activity on it since 87? In other words, was it split off from a previous parcel or anything?
Any other lots?
Yeah.
Since 87?
Since
Yeah.
87.
Sort of a little bit inside baseball, but, there is this AR density requirement that's set in a table. And so I was just talking with Jen and David about this a couple months ago, is that somewhere we need to track, when, if you're allowed 8 dwelling units on a lot of 160 acres, and there's one, and then we build one, someone needs to track somehow.
I mean, it's tracked on our historic parcel maps.
Right.
Right.
A lot of
It
towns
is.
track them on the Mylar.
Yeah, so when we calculate this with somebody like Jason, we go back and we pull the old parcel maps and overlay it with what we have now. So we can actually see how many lots.
Big
there's here.
surprise, you're more on top of it than I am.
Okay. I don't want you to worry about us.
No, I just wanted to put up let's make sure we
Cool.
are responsible about this. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board or public or staff? Okay.
So, I'm sorry, one other comment I'd make is, it's my opinion that this is a minor application. It involves no new infrastructure. sidewalks, roads, sewer, water, town sewer, town water, anything like that, so it is a minor subdivision.
Okay. So, the only thing that you'll be discussing with staff about what the plat has to have on it?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
So you've got a staff recommendation on the final plot. Do you want to include that into a motion, or, I'm not sure.
I don't think it's necessary.
So they understand what you have
All
on this
all
plot?
that we did is
We'll get
looking
the
for,
minutes from Dave and Jen, and,
Okay.
yeah.
incorporate that into the final plat.
But as you're saying, it's a minor application, so therefore it wouldn't have to come back in front of the board again?
No, it does.
Okay.
It does. This was a warned hearing, but only notices to of all the abutting
Abutting
property
landowners,
owners.
okay.
So under our regulations as a sketch plan, it's kind of an informal opportunity to put your plans out there and identify if there's any significant issues that need to be addressed, those kind of things.
Got it.
And it'll be just a final, there won't be a preliminary in between with the minor, it'll just be a final hearing, correct, Dave?
That's what I'm thinking it will be. Do you, Jen?
So at this
I mean-
point, we can do our work, survey, get the wastewater design, get the state permit, get the final plat ready, and then come forward to you guys for the final hearing.
Yep. So full disclosure, the last several times you did subdivisions with us, Jason, you did this sort of sketch and then final, and it was under my watch. I don't read the regulations as well as Dave does. So I had done those as preliminary reviews, which was more than you had to do, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you asked Dave for a sketch, and he's really giving you a sketch plan review here, which is not like a little letter report of what he needs to provide, which Don is remembering from these old applications. And there's not another preliminary, you'll just go right from sketch, which is this very light review here, to final, which is the real deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just had one question on they wanted to show the envelope limits of the clearing. I can't see where there's gonna be any clearing there, is there?
There's, so there is already a clearing in the location.
Right.
On the ledge, just to the east, we would clear a little bit off there, because I think the house is just gonna be right where that is, but it's very minimal, yeah. It's clear on both sides of the
That's what I
ledge, more or
thought.
less, it's
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Good luck.
You wanna go into deliberative session?
For what?
There's a little sketch chapter in there that I hadn't used in a while. Fresh eyes. I think we should rewrite the line
I would like members of the board. I walked up to that. I'm so glad I went on Saturday. Yesterday.
Connect to that road that you are.
Oh, it was lovely on Saturday.
Perfectly legit.
I take my paper and I would say,
I saw on the map there are additional land zones all around, that's. I just,
no, just something,
Other
Yeah,
business?
true enough.
yeah.
We can do that.
Anybody got other business?
There's nothing, the only thing I'd offer is that we do have a hearing on March 11th. Right, 11th. And
Saw that warned.
it's Middlebury College, change of use on Waybridge Street. Now I'm losing it.
And Munger.
Oh, South
Subdivision.
Munger Street, there's a
Oh, yes.
subdivision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just regarding this last case, so right now, they didn't get an indication on, they probably did, but nothing official as to how this board views that proposal. Should we give them, in the future, some sort of indication before they go out and spend a lot of money to do the site work and everything that entails that, to give them some idea that the board is actually, would be in favor of the project?
As I read our regulations, the sketch plan provides minimal information, okay? And Jen and I have talked, maybe we need to rework this section a little bit, because it is a little quirky.
Yeah, okay.
Usually what comes out of a sketch plan historically, and I've dealt with them in several towns, and this is kind of similar, basically you come out with with an acknowledgement that it's a minor application and that it kind of appears to meet the regulations. I think you could conclude that based on the conversation,
Yes,
but
yeah.
it
Well, I don't
wouldn't have
think
been a formal vote or anything.
No, I just didn't know if the applicant.
If it would help them.
Would help them
the applicant.
feel a little bit better about,
So we used to do them as preliminary reviews, which is like the next step up, and the
Yeah.
preliminary review would produce a letter at the end, a non-binding letter, but it gives them direction.
yeah.
And somehow I got in the habit of doing preliminaries and never doing sketches. And maybe it was the direction of this board way back in the
Well,
day.
maybe preliminaries would be better, because in an ideal world, every concern we have about this possible subdivision would have been raised this evening. We might have different thoughts when we see a final plat, but from the conversations we've had, they know what the neighbors think about this. They know what we seem to think about this, unless someone's has concerns they're not expressing. But at the same time, there's no requirement that we express any concerns now.
And then again, I guess the antithesis of that argument is, what if somebody wanted to get some direction without doing hardly any work at all? I mean, Jason did a lot of work here. This is definitely preliminary level work.
Yeah.
But there might be somebody that just wants to draw it on a cocktail napkin or something that might want to actually do a
That's
sketch.
true.
But then Dave and I have discussed if maybe that's more like a conversation with staff at that level.
Yeah.
So I think we need to just
Well,
tweak our regulations a little,
okay,
based
right.
on your feedback.
All right.
So that was the question I asked ahead of time, is that this board shouldn't change by the time they come back, but it could.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, well, the decision we reached here tonight could change the next time they're back here, if there's any different people that not sitting on the board.
And the same thing could be said for if it was a preliminary.
Right.
And you actually rendered a preliminary decision. You just never know.
It's the nature of the game.
The curious,
As it should be. They'll run the bums out of the office and if they don't like the decisions.
I really wrestled with this because I looked at the application you'll see next week, and basically the only difference is a survey's been done. The house is laid out. It's pretty straightforward and clear. Not a whole lot unlike this one. Jen brought up a couple good points this afternoon. Maybe it'd be nice to have a topo of that area, so we might have been able to see a little bit better where that house is gonna nestle in and that kind of thing.
Well,
Get a little bit of
I know the
perspective.
property really well, and I'm sure it's pretty easy to see
Yeah.
where it was gonna be.
Okay. All right, anything else in other business? Is there a motion to adjourn? Do we have to close any hearings?
You probably, you didn't close my parents' hearing,
Right, yeah.
so maybe you ought to close that hearing.
Is there a motion to close the request by Eric Friend?
So moved.
Moved and seconded, discussion on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second, discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're all done, Kathy.